battling gang inside of this man-made cage to see which one of them will come out on top and take home $1 million in cash. Here, you can see the matchups for today's challenge, and all I'm going to say is that we here definitely support gender equality. First up are Jon and Lenny, and the boys are immediately getting into it, as Lenny strikes first and Jon somehow manages to dodge this strike in the same manner he dodged the responsibilities of being a good father to little Jack. The fight goes back and forth, with both Lenny and Jon putting up some amazing punches and kicks, but our poor boy Lenny is just too bad at ground and pound, which ends up draining his stamina, and he ends up getting knocked out cold. With Jon advancing, it's time to see how Bill and Charles will end up doing in their bout. Charles pushes Bill from behind, and Bill doesn't take this lightly as he thinks Charles is cheating. He immediately whips out his pistol and tries to end this bout with a few illegal shots, but Charles disarms him quickly and ends up knocking Bill out cold with one single strike. Wow, what a fight. In the next match, we have our favorite father and son duo, Javier and Little Jack. Jack ends up throwing the first two punches, but misses. He then pushes Javier, and this prompts Javier to lose his shit, and he tries to run away. Little Jack stops this by kicking him with a signature Jon Jones kick that sends Javier flying out of the octagon. Javier proceeds to roll out and ends up running away scared, forfeiting his match with Little Jack. In the next fight, Dutch takes on his lifelong partner, Hosea. He strikes first, but Hosea counters and hits him with a great combination Steven Seagal personally taught him. The boys end up going back and forth and even showcase their takedown defense. Unfortunately for Dutch, the years of smoking those Cuban cigars end up catching up to him as he gets tackled into the ground. He of course manages to fight back, but all of this is short-lived as Hosea pulls out a move straight out of WWE and ends up sending Dutch to sleep. In match 5, Abigail immediately shoves Susan into the cage. Susan doesn't like this and tries to outrun Abigail. Unfortunately, she gets absolutely hammered with her right hand and ends up flying into the cage. Again, Abigail then grabs her into a chokehold and proceeds to tap the poor lady out. In the next match, our favorite ladyboy Uncle faces off against the ultimate feminist, Karen. Uncle immediately pushes her from behind, but Karen doesn't fight back as she instead threatens to call the police. She then proceeds to run away, but Uncle of course doesn't take this lightly and proceeds to tackle her to the ground. He then gives her a few good slaps to remind her that ladyboys today are more women than women themselves. In match 7 of round 1, Tilly faces off against everyone's favorite widow, Mrs. Adler. Tilly strikes first, but Sadie dodges and hits her right in the tit. This stuns Tilly just enough for Sadie to unleash the wrath that she held inside of her since chapter 1. In the final match of round 1, Mary Beth faces Miss Molly O'Shea. Molly throws her right hand, but Mary Beth ends up blocking it well. Molly then proceeds to throw everything she has at Mary Beth, but this ends up being a mistake as she quickly gasses herself out and proceeds to get knocked out with a swift uppercut by Mary Beth. In the first quarterfinal match, Jon faces off against Charles. Jon immediately takes a swing at Charles, but is met by a block so hard it would make Diddy all wet. The two exchange a few hard blows and even end up rolling around on the ground, all covered in baby oil. In the end, Charles takes Jon into the clinch and proceeds to absolutely knock the beta out of him. In the second match of the quarterfinals, Little Jack faces off against one of his stepdads, Hosea. Hosea immediately starts teaching Little Jack a lesson, but Little Jack knows better and fights back the only way that Diddy taught him to. He ends up hitting Hosea with the Diddy special as he ends up ground and pounding him till 6 in the morning. In the third match, Abigail takes on Lumbago Boy and actually puts up a really good fight. Unfortunately, Lumbago Boy is just too strong for her and he ends up knocking her back straight into the kitchen. In the final match of the quarterfinal, Sadie and Mary Beth end up juking it out, and they put on a really nice performance for the audience. Unfortunately, this is cut short for Mary Beth as Sadie knocks her out cold with a swift left hand. In the semi-finals, we have Jack take on big boy Charles Smith, and he proceeds to get choked out immediately. He somehow fights back, but Charles keeps stomping him like the little turd that he is. Jack somehow manages to fight back and ends up taking Charles down. Charles gets back up and the two have a huge back and forth that is one for the ages. In the end, Jack manages to take down Charles once again and proceeds to ground and pound him into a TKO. In the second semi-final bout, Lumbago Boy takes on Sadie Adler. The match starts off very well for Sadie as she manages to get in a few good shots before Uncle takes control of the clinch and proceeds to absolutely smash Sadie to bits. She somehow manages to fight back and even ends up trying to submit Uncle. This angers Uncle as he doesn't like being touched by anyone except his dearest friend Diddy, and he ends up knocking Sadie out cold. In the final match, we have two of the best and quite honestly most diverse fighters out of the entire group, Jack and Uncle Lumbago. The round starts with little Jack swinging for the fences and absolutely missing Uncle in the process. The two have a huge back and forth, which resembles the general situation many people have witnessed at some of the famous Diddy parties. Also, a brief reminder that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, and neither will the Diddler. Jack puts up some good counter strikes, but Uncle is just too strong of a force of nature to be diddled with as he proceeds to stomp Jack into oblivion. Some might say that this move is illegal in MMA, but Dana White doesn't agree as he hands over $1 million to a boy Uncle. This goes to show that Uncle Dana loves winning more than anything, even if you have to slap a few women here and there. Thank you all for watching, make sure to hit that like button, and of course subscribe to help spread the word of this beautiful channel. Stay silly, keep edging, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.